Welcome to the Curate Your Life podcast with Demetria, where we focus on curating the life you've been dreaming of, one goal at a time. Okay, y'all, so I want to first apologize if you hear banging and a lot of noise. There's construction going on in my building and the landscapers are here, so there's a lot going on today. But this is the time that I've set aside to record this today, and I need to get it done. So we're just going to roll with it, and I hope it's not too bad. It seems to have quieted down a bit, so let's just go. Hopefully I can get through this before all the racket starts up again. Forgive me if you hear a bunch of noise in the background, and maybe I can edit it out a bit. I don't know. But anyway. So I want you to think about something. You set a goal to work out, and you told yourself that you were going to work out 3 times a week. And the first week you did great. You hit your goal. And the second week you did great. You hit your goal and you got in an extra workout. Week 3, you only worked out twice. And week 4, you worked out 1 time. And week 5, you worked out twice. And then week 6, you didn't work out at all. And week 7 passed and week 8 passed and you were not working out. You were not doing what you said you were going to do. Things came up, you got busy, you'll start again when? That's called little quits. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. It's when you're not keeping your word to yourself, when you let yourself off the hook, or give yourself permission not to do the things that you said you were going to do to get to the place and the goal that you wanted to get. And I will tell you that I had little quits on this podcast. I took a break for a few weeks. I quietly went to every other week. And then I just didn't do it for about 3 weeks at one point. Maybe it was a little bit longer. And I had to think about why that was going on for me, what was really happening. And so I sat down, I thought about it for a bit. I actually got some coaching on it, and I went through the mind drama of what was coming up. And it was things I was telling myself, like it's too hard, or I don't want to do it, or it takes too much time. I don't know what to say. I'm not doing it correctly, right? I'm not doing it right. And I actually talked about all of that last week in the podcast, because that's when it all came up for me. And I realized what I was doing, that I was having these little quits. And so I had to examine it and really think about my why I did want to do the podcast, why I had started out in the first place. And then I had to recommit to myself that I was going to stick with that goal. And like I said in the podcast last week, that I am committed to doing this through March, and then I get to decide. But for now, I'm going to stick to this goal because it is a goal I set, and I want to be a person who does what they say, who keeps their word to themselves. And I examined and I liked my reasons for doing the podcast, right? So I've committed to myself that I would do this through March, and then I can reevaluate then. But I will have built that muscle of doing what I say, of being the person that I want to be and working towards the goals that I've set. So I thought we would talk about this because little quit season is upon us. Right now, a lot of people are using the holidays as an excuse to let their routines go, their diets or their eating plans, because it's the holidays and just one more won't hurt. I'll start again at the new year. But when you're doing that, you're chipping away at your self-trust. You're giving your brain the evidence that you can't do it. So the next time that you start a diet or decide that you're going to go with an eating plan, if you don't like the word diet, that it's easier to quit. Your brain has that evidence that, oh, we don't follow through. If somebody comes to us and they offer us a cookie, yes, that's what we normally do. We don't stick to what we said we were doing. We go ahead and take that cookie. We quit on ourselves. So this may be a weird analogy, but stick with me. I think of little quits like picking at your nail polish, right? You see a little spot or a little chip and you know that you shouldn't, but you just pick a little bit and the spot gets a little bit bigger. And then you keep picking and you keep picking until it gets bigger. And before you know it, you've picked all the nail polish off. Little quits are like that. You give yourself permission not to do that one thing that you want to do to get to that goal that you set, or you tell yourself just this once won't hurt, or I'll do it later, or it's just a little bit, it doesn't matter. But you're chipping away at self-trust. You're making it easier to quit in the long run. So that does matter. So it does all add up. It's like deciding to watch just one more episode of The Gilded Age and not sticking to the bedtime that you'd set when you decided that getting more sleep would help you have more energy and be more productive during the day. Or it's like having chips and salsa instead of the salad or the fish and veggies that you plan for dinner. So we're at that time of year where people are thinking about their New Year's resolutions and setting goals, and they start off big and they're gung-ho, and then they lose steam. So I looked it up to see how far people get with New Year's resolutions, and the statistics show that 23% of people quit on their resolution by the end of the first week, and 43% quit by the end of January. And I saw two different stats. One said 9% of people actually hit their goal, complete their resolution, and one said 8%. Either way, that's pretty close, but it's a small number. And I think that there are several reasons why, and I want to look at some of those reasons and give you some strategies and some tips to keep going. So I think people little quit sometimes because they're not really truly committed to the goal in the first place. It's something that they think they should be doing, or something that sounds good to say out loud that other people are doing, kind of on that bandwagon, right? Like, because it's the new year, everybody's setting these resolutions because everybody else is doing it, and that's what people do. But they're not truly committed to that resolution when they set it. So if you want to get on the resolution bandwagon or set a goal, I would say spend some time really thinking about what you want and why, what changes you want to implement and why. And it doesn't have to fit in with what everybody else is doing. It doesn't have to be that I'm going to go to the gym starting on January 1st. Well, I always say January 2nd because I think January 1st is still a eating holiday. Lay around, eat, and watch football. So I think a lot of people say January 1st and then they really have to move it to January 2nd because they realize that they're going to have to watch all the games and eat all the wings and things like that. But if that's not truly what you want, if that's not truly something that you're committed to, don't set the goal. So think about what you want to do for your life, not what everybody else is doing, what people should be doing about this time of year, but think about what you want and why. Most people don't want to go on a diet. They want to feel better in their clothes. They want to look good for themselves and for other people. They want to feel energetic. They want to not have aches and pains. So go deep and be honest with yourself when you're thinking about what you want. And think about what you really will need to do or to give up to reach your goal, and what sacrifices you're willing to make. If your resolution is to stick to a budget and pay off debt, are you willing to cancel your streaming services? Are you going to be okay with saying no to friends when they're wanting to go out to dinner, or limit the amount of times that you go out to dinner? Are you going to take the Amazon app off of your phone? Put your credit cards away. Are you willing to do those things? So answer that question, and also really get clear on that vision of what you're going for. what the end result is, what is on the other side of the sacrifice. And if that thing on the other side, the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, is it worth the trek to get there? For you, decide for you. The other reason I think people quit on themselves is because they think they have to do it perfectly. And perfectionism gets in the way, because the first time that you have a little slip up, or you don't do it exactly right, or you skip a day, then you want to toss it all out the window, right? You think it's not worth it. Well, you've messed up now, so I got to start over, or I got to scrap all this. But really, it's just taking the next step. Assess what happened, take a beat, and then plan your next right action, your next step. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just imagine if you get 1 or 2% better every week, where you'll be at the end of the year. Or if you get 1 or 2% closer to your goal, where will you be at the end of the year? It doesn't have to be a perfect, all-out attempt at the goal. It's progress, it's learning, it's growing, it's being okay with a little failure. I talk about that a lot. And not looking at it as a failure, looking at it as a learning, and then taking the next steps. Another reason that people get plagued by little quits is they have not thought about what it'll really take to achieve the goal. They don't think about all the details. Like, say you're wanting to add those workouts. Are you going to get up early in the morning and go work out before work? Are you going to do it at lunchtime? Are you going to do it after work? If you're getting up early, you're going to probably need to go to bed early. Set the alarm, have your clothes ready. If you're going to do it at lunch, you're going to need to take the clothes with you, and then you're going to need to get yourself together after you've worked out to go back and finish the rest of your workday. If it's after work, you have to think about the things that come up. Work could run long. People invite you out to happy hour. You're tired after work. So you have to consider all the things that you really need to do to make it happen. You have to take all of that into account, which leads us to the next thing. People don't have a plan when they set a goal. They just say, oh, I'm going to do this. And they've not thought about all of the obstacles that could come up, or all of the little details that they need to take into consideration. They haven't really thought about how they're going to execute it. So when things aren't, again, working perfectly, then they quit again. But if you have a plan, you can set yourself up for success. You think about all those details in advance, all those possible obstacles that can come up, and how you can address them. And the other thing is, people have unrealistic expectations. They don't plan for the what ifs. We're back to the planning, but they think that it's all going to work perfectly and things are magically going to be better and they're going to be ready on January 1. But they're not realistic about where you're starting, what you're able and what you're willing to do. And like I said, they set these big, huge goals and they're all ready to go and enthusiastic and optimistic. And as soon as something comes up that challenges them, they quit. They give themselves that permission to quit. So setting small, doable goals will help you build success. Every time you take a step, every time you do what you said you would do, every time you're moving towards your goal, you're building that muscle of achievement and you'll be able to repeat it. So those are some tips that I have for you to help you not do the little quits, to help you not give up on yourself. All those little quits add up to big quits. Every time you let yourself off the hook, you make it easier to let yourself off the hook next time. And it just becomes a cycle. And before you know it, you've quit altogether. You're not doing anything working towards your goal. And one of the weird things about quitting, little quits and big quits, is that they feel bad and they feel good. They feel bad because you beat yourself up, you have the negative self-talk running through your head, and then the next time you think about setting a goal, going for a goal, doing something, you have that tape running through your head of all the times that you quit, that you didn't achieve that goal. So that's why it feels bad. But in that moment that you quit, that you say, okay, just this one time, or, oh yeah, I'll do it later, you have an instant of relief. That internal struggle, I should do it, I should not do it. When you say, okay, I'm not going to do it, and you decide to quit, or I'll do it later, or just this one time, whatever won't hurt. When you have that moment of giving up, of quitting, it's relief, because the struggle has stopped, right? The I should, I shouldn't, I should, I shouldn't. That struggle, you made that decision to stop, and the struggle stops, and you have a moment of until the negative talk starts later on. So when you're faced with that decision, when it comes time to the doing what you said you were going to do, remind yourself of what you want, why you want it, that you can do it and it doesn't have to be perfect, that just taking one small action towards the goal that you want will make it easier to take the next action. Just like quitting one little quit makes it easier to have the next quit and the next quit and the bigger quit. Doing one thing makes it easier to do the next thing and the next thing. And before you know it, you're at the goal. So when you're faced with this dilemma and you're thinking about having a little quit, ask yourself, what one step can I take? What one thing can I do? If little quits are something that you struggle with and you have trouble following through on a goal, I'd love to help you figure out why. Schedule a consultation with me and we can work through the whole process, from the goal setting and why that goal is important to you, to breaking it down into doable steps and creating a plan. You can find the link to schedule the consultation in the show notes. Until next time.